Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. Welcome to another Turtle Side Chat. This is your Shaliach, Apostle Moshe Yosef Kanichowski, reporting in. And I've got my morning chores out of the way. I worked out and I got out of the house and got a little fresh air. And I haven't been with you because I've been very busy doing the work of Yahuwah and also taking care of other matters as well. But this is our first live Turtle Side Chat in almost a week. Tell me, how did you survive without us? Amen. But it's good to see you again. It's good to come into your homes again. Today I want to talk more from my heart. And by the way, another reason that I haven't been with you at Turtle Side, in the Turtle Side Chat video school, is because sometimes you don't have anything to talk about, or there's not a topic or a teaching that the Master Yahuwah has put on our heart. So if there's nothing on my heart, that means it's not a burden, the burden of the word of Yahuwah, so there's nothing to bring to you. But then as I was meditating and talking to some friends this book here, I was thinking about the concept of friendship. Now, we have a lot of old teachings on the internet, in our Yadi Global YouTube channel, about friendship. New friends, new family in Yeshua. And we have quite a number of videos on friendship. So today I wanted to just speak to you from the heart. I'm going to use a couple of scriptures because if you don't season every teaching with the word of Yahuwah, it kind of lacks in its authority. And those of you who know me, been following me, some of you have been following me for 10, 15, even 20, 25 years, you know that everything we do is based on the word. We're led by the word. We're corrected by the word. And all things are done by the word of Yahuwah. So it's always important to season everything with a little bit of the word. But I want to speak to you a lot from the heart. I see a lot of relationships in the body of Yeshua today. They claim to be friendships. They're not really friendships because if you can't be someone's friend or claim to be someone's friend or appear in their face, in their presence as someone's friend and then go behind their back and talk their stuff to other people. Okay, whether it's personal stuff, whether it's not personal stuff, it can just be general stuff. If a person wants to share what's happening in their life with another person, friend or foe or indifferent, that is their prerogative, that is their option. People say to me all the time, well, what is your marital status? Are you single? Are you married? You know, how many hundreds of millions of friends do you have, wives do you? It's none of your business because it's my business, it's your business, and you have the freedom as a free servant of the Mashiach Yeshua, as his Eved, to share your stuff and your information with those you choose to do so. But when somebody violates that trust, and they're out there sharing what's happening in your home, in your family, in your community, with others without your permission, they're not your friend. Now, a lot of us are going to resent this understanding, and a lot of us are going to resent this message, and a lot of us are going to be bothered, and a lot of us are going to think that he, Shaliach Moshe Yosef Kanichowski, is talking about me, but none of that is true. I'm not specifically talking about anybody. Okay? These are general concepts. These are general concepts that we have to understand and that we have to deal with. Okay? And one of the main concepts of friendship is a friend does not betray a friend. Now, when we think of betrayal, we think of selling out, turning over to the enemy or to a person's enemies or to those who hate him. We turn them over. We go behind their back. That's not necessarily the most common form of betrayal. The most common form of betrayal is usually, and I'm talking about in the body of Yeshua, I'm talking about in the Commonwealth of Israel, I'm talking about relationships among born-again believers, is for you and I, or any believer, to take things that have been exchanged between friends that could be sensitive, they could be things shared in confidence, they could be shared. There could be things that are not shared in confidence. The point, just because something is not shared in confidence, and just because someone doesn't ask you for confidence, does not mean that you have the right to share what's happening in that person's life, in that person's home, in that person's family, with other people, even those who are friendly to your friend. I'll say that again so you don't get confused. Even those who are friendly to your friend, but especially those who are enemies with your friend. So every person, as an Eved, a servant of Yeshua, has the right to share or withhold things with other people. So when you're a friend of a person, as a born-again believer who's supposed to walk in the light and not in the darkness, and is not supposed to conduct themselves according to the way of the world, we have to treasure those friendships in Yeshua. We have to value those friendships in Yeshua, knowing they're very hard to come by. Because in case you hadn't noticed, there's not a lot of people who love Yeshua and keep Torah. There are people who love Jesus, and there are people who are Torah observant, but they hate Yeshua. So that's an oxymoron. You can't be Torah observant and reject the prophet like unto Moshe in Deuteronomy 18:18. So to be Torah observant, you have to start by loving Yahweh with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, which includes receiving the one whom he has sent and the one whom he loves. So I'm talking about how we behave toward our friends when we violate them. So I've been in many cars, I've been in many discussions, I've been in many groups, I've been in many homes, certainly on the internet. We're not even talking about the internet. That's a cesspool that you have to navigate through, some good, some bad, chew the meat and spit out the bones. We're talking about in personal relationships where we get to see one another and when we get to spend time with one another. I've been in many situations where we are afraid. I'm talking to you directly. I don't really care if I offend you, but I want to talk to you directly. We don't really behave ourselves in a manner worthy of holding on to those friendships. So when we're in a room and another brother is being discussed, or a brother or sister in Yeshua is being discussed, either in a negative way or an information that is being shared with others about a brother or about a sister, there have been so many times that we're timid, we're afraid to say, hey, don't talk to me about this one. If he wants to tell me, he can tell me. Or if she wants to tell me, she can tell me. I don't want to hear it. Please, I don't want to hear it. Okay? If you're going to sit here and bring me up to date on somebody else and what they're doing and who they're marrying and how their ministry is doing, I don't want to hear it. Because if you're going to keep pushing it on me, A, I'm not going to be your friend. B, if they wanted me to know it, they would contact me themselves and share. They would contact me themselves and divulge everything that they want shared. So we need the boldness, and we need to know that we're pleasing Yahweh. We're not being rude. So if you're always talking to somebody and they're always talking about Moshe Kanachowski and you can't get them to stop, then you need to stop that friendship. And I need to do the same. If somebody's always talking about you and always complaining about you and always pointing out to me what you're doing and your shortcomings and what you're doing and what you've been doing and what you plan on doing, this is news that I'm not privy to, that I'm not privileged to, because either that person is not my friend or they are my friend, but so far they have not chosen to share those things with me. So I think all of us lack. That's what you lack. You and I lack courage to just sit in a room or to tell one of our friends that we love and that we care about, hey, listen, I'm not going to listen to anything. I don't want that person or his business or her business discussed in front of me because we have not been given permission. So that if somebody wants to bring you up to date on what's happening in the community, in our families, then they themselves can tell you. And we can get a lot of these principles from the word of Yahuwah. So just to show you, I'm turning my back towards you again. And don't mean I don't love you. It just means that I need to consult the word. So we see, for instance, and I'm just going to give you a few scriptures, but the word has much to say about gossip and slander. But I'm taking it a step further because the scriptures that are there about gossip and slander should be pretty obvious to anybody that has a sincere heart and anybody that's seeking to please Yahuwah. Okay? I'm talking about a more conservative approach so that we have no reproach in our behavior in and amongst ourselves. So I am determined from now on, when somebody starts to tell me and bring me up to date to inform me about other people, I'm going to say, listen, I don't want to hear it. They're not in this room. They haven't contacted me by email. They haven't contacted me by phone. Okay? So therefore, that is indicative to me that they do not want me to know that. So then I'm not going to allow you to bring me up to date. Even though it may seem innocuous, even though it may seem nebulous, even though it may seem like it's no big deal to just chatter, to make nice, friendly conversation. A lot of times we use nice, friendly conversation as an entry point, listen, as an entry point or as a cloak to really spill what's on our heart, or to divulge what's on our heart, or to pour out what's on our heart. See, we engage in nice, friendly chatter, just enough to break the ice, the formalities, but then we get to what we really want to do, which is complain and dump and get someone else to side with us against another person. So don't be fooled. We know gossip is wrong. We know slander is wrong. Torah says, you shall not go among your people as a talebearer. Scripture says, remove the talebearer and strife will cease. And a lot of times Yahuwah removes people because he has the power to cleanse his body, to prune his vine, and then the strife and the division and a lot of times the spirit of confusion leaves. See, Yeshua has that authority and power, but we lack the courage. It's not so much that we lack the power, we lack the courage not to allow our brothers and sisters to inform us. Okay, it's all done under the guise of, I haven't spoken to this one. I haven't spoken to Shaliach in 2 years. Why don't you bring me up to date? Why don't you tell me what he's up to? Now, right there, you're asking for information that is illegal for you to receive. And if Shaliach wanted you to know those things, he himself would have told you those things. So when you go digging and asking questions, and you're not part of a person's life, you're not part of their circle of friends, that is breaking Torah. The only reason you're looking for that information is to harbor something in your heart, or to confirm something in your heart that you already had against somebody else. So you're searching for information. And among all this new information that you're hoping to get, you might find something to somehow defend or confirm that the bitterness or the anger or the hate that you have in your heart, or the jealousy, the kana, the jealousy in your heart is somehow justifiable. And I find a lot of people do that. They'll dig for information because they don't want to cleanse themselves and be free of guilt and anger and bitterness and vengeance. They know that vengeance in the scripture has no place in their heart, because Yahuwah said, vengeance is mine, saith Yahuwah, I will repay. But in order to justify the ticking of their heart for vengeance, for revenge, they want to dig information and then have some ammunition to hold against you in conversations with others, online, on the internet, or whatever nefarious motivation they have. So it's important that we rise above the fray. You, your mishpacha, myself, that we will determine if we're walking in the Ruach, if we want to obey Yahuwah, if we want to have our hearts and our minds pure so that we can seek Him with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, we have to determine that we are going to no longer talk on the phone to anyone who talks about other people that are in our lives. Whether it's by email, whether it's by internet, whether it's by telephone, whether it's in person. Okay, because we're offending Yahuwah and we're defending the jealousy with which we're offending the jealousy and the love He has for His body by allowing an open door for gossip, slander, or, as I said, what I want to address today is the under the guise or the mask, and you know it's a guise, of just, I'd like to know how they're doing. That's a lie. Stop it. Stop it. If you just want to know how someone's doing, then you know what to do. You pick up the phone and you give them a call. You don't email them. You don't fax them. You don't go around the congregation or other people trying to see what they know. Well, what do you know? And what do you know? And how much do you know? So we all know slander is wrong. We all know gossip is wrong. We all know this is plain. Anybody that can read, okay, can understand. But I want to go even deeper. I believe that the search for information, do you realize some of you now and in the past, but also now, are being used by the devil as a conduit of information. For instance, people leave our community. They want to keep in contact and see what's going on. Not because they love me and my family, or they love the elders, or they love someone, but because they want to get the information, A, in case they need it in the future, B, to justify their feelings in their heart, which they don't seem willing or able to purge themselves from. And so you are allowing yourself to be used as a conduit of information. So if you're going to remain friendly with people who allegedly don't gossip and slander, but they're among the information diggers, okay, they want to know what's going on in our community, for example. I can only speak about our community because that's what's closest to me, or online even. And they're using you to find that information. You are, in fact, engaging in gossip, slander, tale-bearing, and you are now a prime candidate for the discipline of Yahuwah. Because whom Yahuwah loves, he disciplines, and he scourges every son and daughter whom he receiveth. For if you are without chastening, then are ye not sons and daughters, but then are ye bastards. For whom Yahuwah loves, he chastens. So you can expect to get chastened if you don't stop dishing out information to other people. And a lot of times the only reason we maintain relationships is so we can keep doors open, so we can acquire information. It's not just the federal government. Some of you born-again fanatics, you're anti-federalists, anti-government. Everything about the government is bad. They're our enemy. They have to be eradicated, blah, blah, blah. Conspiracy this, conspiracy that. Every light bulb is under a conspiracy. The color of every carpet in every American home is being monitored by the government. Some of you people don't realize you're doing the same thing that you accuse the government of doing. Meaning you are monitoring and you are continuing relationships so as to obtain information, or even worse, you are being used by those outside the body of Yeshua or outside the community or the congregation to filter information. So when you're talking to people about, if you really are sincere and if you really want to obey Yahweh, when you're talking to other people, okay, about someone else, you just say, listen, I'm not giving out any information. I'm not giving you any updates. I'm not telling you who was born, who's sick, who died. If you are concerned and and Yahweh's put it on your heart to reach out to these folks, and because they'll say, "Oh, I'm just asking because I care," or we know how to say all the right biblical terms. "Oh, I'm just asking because I want to know how to pray." You lying mama, shut your mouth. You want to find out information so you know how to pray. When the truth is you've never prayed for that person in 20 years, even though it's possible that person has prayed for you in the past. So let's not play games, because all things are open and naked to the eyes of the one with whom we have to deal. Yahweh is not fooled. In due season we will reap what we sow. Yahweh said through his son Yeshua, every idle word that man speaks, he will give account on the day of judgment. Every idle word that you speak and every idle word that you listen to. Okay, so you cannot be a conduit of the devil to give out information. Even if that information is good news. Hey, they got married. Hey, they had a baby. Hey, they got a new job. It is still wrong to give out information because you don't know if your friend, your confidant, wants that information given out. Okay, I do the same thing, you do the same, we're all guilty of the same thing. But I'm determined, listen, I'm determined that if people start talking and giving me all the information, about another brother and sister in Yeshua, especially. Because the word says do good to all men as much as you can, but specifically to those who are of the household of Emunah. I'm going to cut you off, man. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to walk away. And then when I come back, I don't want to be talking about my friend to you. If you want to know about my friend, you need to speak to her. You need to speak to him. When we do that, these people who are now using you, you're being used by the enemy. These people who are now using you, and the worst part is to be used by the enemy and then spit out in the end, to dig up information so they can keep abreast on what's happening in someone else's life. It's not for a good cause. I'm going to say it again, because if they were really concerned about the person, well, what did I tell you they would do? They would pick up the phone. Okay, now look. In Luke, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, I'm going to the word of Yahweh, looking at the computer, 21 and 16. Luke 21 and 16. You shall be betrayed by parents. You shall be betrayed by brothers. You shall be betrayed by believing mishpacha or mishpacha. And you shall be betrayed by chaverim. Some of you they will cause to be put to death. So the principle that we will be betrayed by friends is right there in the book of Luke. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It just popped up here on the screen. In Luke 23:12, go with me please to Luke in the Brit Chadashah, the renewed covenant, which was given as Torah to the Commonwealth of Israel. So it's not a New Testament that has no connection to Torah. It has been given as Torah to the renewed covenant remnant of both houses. It says in Luke 23:12, when it came to get rid of or to talk about the business of Yeshua. Okay, well, Herod didn't have a relationship with Yeshua. Pilate didn't have a relationship. They couldn't just go to Yeshua and get the information because they were enemies of Yeshua, and Yeshua had the wisdom of Yahweh because he is and was the wisdom of Yahweh. So he's not going to allow himself to get caught up into that. So even though Herod Antipas and Pilatus hated each other, notice, they came together to exchange information about what's the Nazarene doing, who is he following, how many people are in his ministry, how many people follow him, who are the ones who are faithful, who are the ones who are stupid, and who are the ones who are deceived by this false prophet, this deceiver. See, Luke 23:12, the same Yom Pilate and Herod were made chaverim. How did they suddenly, these two enemies who were at enmity between themselves, verse 12, how did they suddenly become chaverim? Not so much because they were engaging in Lashon Hara, but because they were exchanging counsel and information about Yeshua. So when someone starts telling you stuff about another person who's your friend, or is asking you information, he wants details on the life of your friend, you cannot give out that information, even if it's good news, because you're breaking trust, you're breaking confidence, you're breaking covenant, and you're showing self unworthy, because Proverbs says, he that wants true friendship, lasting friendship, must show themselves faithful. So for instance, when you're on Facebook and people start talking against me, if you're really my student, and I don't need you to do this, but the Ruach wants you to do this, and they start talking against me, you need to say, now shut up. Stop it right there, because if you say anything else, I'm going to unfriend you, and then I'm going to block you, and you're never going to hear from me again. I'm drawing the line here. Not because of what you were asking, because they may not be asking for information that's bad. They just may be wanting to be updated. They don't have a right to be updated. The only person that has a right to be updated about your life are those you've taken into your friendship. Friendship, even when confidence is not requested, friendship, the status of friendship, the definition of friendship, being yoked together for a purpose or for a common heart or a common mind, demands that you don't give out information. So I have many true friends, and as soon as people start asking for information on my life, they get cut off. They get warned one time, And if they keep asking for information or they want to know what's happening in my ministry, in my family, the community, they get cut off because they've been warned. I'm not going to discuss Sholiach Moshe. If you have a question, you can contact him yourself. And I want to do those same things in reward for loyalty of those who have been loyal to me, because friendship is all about loyalty. See? And so we're not talking about outright gossip. We're not talking about outright slander. We're not talking about talebearing. We know those things are clearly outlined in Scripture as chatim or peshaot, sins or transgressions against the Most High Yahuwah. We're talking about the nebulous stuff, the stuff that's innocuous. Oh, what's happening in the ministry? Well, you haven't been in the congregation in 10 years. We send you invitations. We send you bulletins, but you want to know what's happening? If you want to know what's happening, why don't you ask the rabbi? Why don't you ask the rebbe? So it's all under the sweet guise of, oh, I need the information because I want to know what's going on and I just want to know how to pray. That's a lie. You know it's a lie. You're looking for information to justify your unrepentant, unchanged, stony heart that's in bondage, seeking for an opportunity to betray or to take vengeance or to take revenge or to besmirch them and do to them what you perceive, real or perceived, either one, that they did to you. Now, let's close with this. Yochanan 15:13. I don't even know if there's going to be another part to this series. I'm just going to be led by the Ruach. And as I said, I didn't even have a message before today, but I felt it was important for me to come to you. And then just this morning I started thinking. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. And if you notice in a congregation or in a group, there's always one or two folks who serve this purpose. Okay, that information gets out of the congregation, not through the rabbi, the rebbetzin, or anyone else, but gets out into the world to others through just laid back, quiet conversations. You should not be having these conversations. So if somebody starts talking about you and wants information about you, what my response is going to be, and I believe your response should be from the Ruach, is listen. She's a good friend. She's a wonderful person. Me and her, we have a good relationship. We have a good understanding. We speak all the time. But if you want any specifics about the wedding or what's happening in their lives or what's happening with their children, and your heart is right, just give them a call and see if they want to share. You got to stop it. You can't allow yourself to be used by the enemy to funnel information, A, to the outside world, B, to other people, whether they're in your congregation or they're not. These are principles. These are principles that cannot be violated, or you will lose the friends, or you will lose the trust of the people who are now your friends. And once you lose trust, it's very hard to recover that trust, and it's very hard to regain that trust. Yochanan 15:13. Greater ahava has no man than this, that a man lay down his chayim for his chaverim. And you are my chaverim if you do all I command you. Okay? So, no longer I call you avadim, for the eved does not know what the master does. See that? There are people who you think are friends of another person. Let me say that. I don't want to miss this point here. Okay? In Yochanan 15:15, he says, you are my friends, I lay down my life for my friends, and you are my chaverim if you do everything I command you. But here's the principle in Yochanan 15:15. He says, you're no longer my slaves and servants, but because a servant doesn't know the master's business, what the master does, what he's eating, where he's sleeping, where he's living. I have called you chaverim because everything about me from my Abba I have made known to you, both about what I've heard from my Abba, notice, and what I'm doing. Notice, I'm letting you know what I've heard from my Abba, number one, and number two, I'm letting you know what I'm doing. See, right here, we are Yeshua's friends when we hear from the Ruach, and we receive from the Ruach, and we have our minds and our hearts open from the Ruach, it is Yeshua, our friend, revealing things from the Abba, but also telling us what he's doing. See, he tells us what he's doing. But what happened to those who told others what Yeshua was up to? They became his enemies, and Yeshua cut them off. And they helped participate in his death. But let's understand that again. Yeshua says you're no longer avadim, you're chaverim, because number one, I'm showing you things from the Abba. If you weren't my friend, I wouldn't show you. It's my pleasure to show you. And number two, you know everything I'm doing, meaning it's another way of saying you know my business. But when someone like Judas takes his business and go, he's sleeping here. He's still not married. He turned over that when you start telling other people the master's business, you are no longer his friend, but you are a slave of the enemy. I'm going to leave it at that. The way he outlined it for us, a true chaver knows what his friend, his chaver, is doing and does not divulge it. Because Yeshua's friends treasured those things in their heart. They didn't run abroad and share the information because that information would be shared with Yeshua's friends, his contemporaries, and yes, even with his foes. So if you think, oh, that person is friendly anyway, so I can share with him what's happening or what's going on in my friend's life, you don't know if that person who likes your friend, okay, may not go out and blab what your friend is doing to 29 or 40 other people on the internet, and about 30 of those 40 people can't stand your friend's guts. You need to show yourself worthy of the friendships you now have by not sharing what they're doing. Let him that hath ears hear what the Ruach says to the Kehillah.